Wow. That was completely unrehearsed. And quite different from my usual walk-up song of Tesla, Signs. I'm a lot like you guys, I don't like to be told what to do. That's my song, it'll always be my song. But Ira sent me an email a week ago and said, what's your walk-up song, and don't be a smartass. So, true to form, I had to be a smartass, and I said Endless Love. And next thing you know, Rob's going down the hallway singing shit, Pam chunks in, and we got roped into that. And, no, you guys got roped into that, and I'm sorry. There's some value in humiliating yourselves. All right. 20 years ago, Steve and I were unemployed, up to our asses in student loan debt and credit card debt from bars and plane tickets, and living with our parents. They must have been thrilled. I can say as a parent now. My parents are right on the cusp of 60 years of marriage, and yeah, I just went and saw them last week. And I would say the vast majority of those years, over 40, were spent helping people, mostly children. My dad worked in the hospital a hospital for the criminally insane. That's where he got to start and get going. He ran a school for the deaf. He was a teacher. He was a college professor. And I was down for Thanksgiving talking to him, and I knew he was a barber. He was a barber for 14 years, cutting hair at night while I was going to school with my mom. And he was telling me about cutting people's hair on Skid Row in Chicago and tripping over dead people on the way to work. The stories just don't end with my family. My mother, she taught. She ran a developmental therapy center for kids that had spinal injuries, and she supervised, I think at one time, 26 Head Start programs at the same time. And she even ran a therapeutic foster care program for the biggest jerk I ever met. Some people in the room know who that guy is. So, this is the family I grew up in. Two parents, two people that believe that everybody has value, and that family is very much a necessary part of what someone needs to reach their full potential. And they worked hard, and they changed the course of many people's lives. I can only imagine what it would be like if they had the tools and the freedom that we have, what else they could have done. And we talked about that a little over Thanksgiving. I mean, think about doing what we do with spiral-bound notebooks, chalk, pencils. I mean, they didn't have a cell phone, they didn't have a computer, they didn't have anything. I remember my mother driving up these crazy country roads in big, ugly West Virginia, and what if her car would have broke down? I don't know how we would have got her. So, I want to give you a couple examples of just how nutty. I'll give you two kitchen table examples I got growing up and contrast that with where we are now. Because it helps me to have perspective and see where the child welfare industry is going. The first one, I have a drinking problem. My dad, he would teach night school, and his classes were always full. There's only two places you could go to get CEUs, your continuing education credits, if you were a special ed teacher, and one of them was Marshall. So the classes would fill up inevitably, and there would be people begging him to get on the wait list, and he would always do it. And the problem was, in his mind, he's making extra money for the university because he's tired of looking at that sign over the copier that says you're only allowed to make 50 copies. And at the same time, he's got the dean bitching at him because accreditation is bitching at him because he has too many kids in his class. So my dad would come home, shake his head, and say, "Makes no sense, son, makes no sense." And then he'd do it again the next semester. My mother, my favorite story from my mother, when she was running that developmental therapy center, they received funding from a lot of places, like, we're not very heavy on donations or anything like that. People give us money from time to time. We prefer those $1 million checks. We don't like messing around with too much of the small stuff. But my mom lived in that world where you're trying to eat what you kill and, raise money and kiss everyone in town's ass to get paid. We don't have to do that. It's nice. So the United Way had given them some money, and her boss said, well, you got to spend all that money. We got to spend it by the end of the year. Next year, if we don't spend it, they won't give us any money back, or they won't give us the same amount. And my mom told her boss, well, but I don't need anything. And he said, spend it anyways. And she protested. She wouldn't do it. So her boss found this guy. They were laying some new carpet in the building. And he said, I need you to spend every dollar we have left on carpet. And this guy said, you don't have enough floors. And my mom's boss said, that's okay, just run it up the walls. Literally, they ran carpet up the walls to spend the money. So that's where we've come. I heard many stories like that growing up of good people working hard to help people and running into the face of dumb rules, wasting money, personality-driven management, and not very bright bureaucrats. So, yeah, my parents did their job. I'm sure they did a good job in a system riddled with waste, command and control management, and no way of knowing, no possible way of knowing the impact of their work or who's winning or who's losing. Now, don't get me wrong, we all know people, we all know companies that are still doing stupid shit like running carpet up the walls, right? But not us. We don't have to do that. Because nobody owns our ass. Nobody. We don't report to a university president with an ego the size of a Christmas tree. And we don't have board members that have vested interests that are trying to get you to hire their cousins and brothers and so and buy goods and services now. We have nice people. We got people like Rob Geist, who's with us tonight, Andrew Van Sickle. What are they known for? One of them's known for giving really good hugs. Robbie, where is he? Oh, that's right. And Andrew's known as a nice guy and a brilliant artist. So I think it's important we keep that perspective and we're not in that world. Hey, how about a hand for these guys? Yep. They donate their time. We appreciate it. So, I don't want you to be confused and think that I'm completely anti-regulation. I think we're over-regulated, and I think we have too many damn rules. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with being held accountable. We all know what it's like to deal with that occasional pain in the ass, not to mention any names, since I'm in Hamilton County, licensing person that might come and show up and tell you how stupid you are. Probably ought to stop there. But actually, we embrace it because nobody puts more pressure on us than we do. There's nothing. Let me back up. There's nothing more powerful than a really good idea, even if it's a simple idea, whose time has come. And that idea, in our case, is that accountability should come to the world of child welfare and behavioral health. I like to tell people that I feel like, for the most part, we're playing in this really crazy expensive basketball game day after day after day with no scoreboard. And it gets a lot more interesting when you start keeping score. I don't know if people realize just how big this industry is. Mark and I have kicked around numbers. We go 200 billion, 400 billion. I'm not sure anybody really knows when you take a global look at the children that we work with and all the various services they receive. But we operate in this industry that's overregulated and wasteful. You guys see it every day. And you see these people with good intentions and poor results. And it's hard to imagine that our country will spend so much money on such precious cargo with such terrible results, but they do. Only one state has ever passed their federal audit, and they passed it once, and then they lost it. That's Kansas. And for the most part, that is America's child welfare system. But it's changing. And it's changing because of people like you. Because we do have a scoreboard. We call it our balance scorecard. It keeps us honest, and it keeps us aligned with our strategy. Now, this stuff isn't sexy, but it's really, really important. We've been creating baselines and competing against them for years. Measurement and accountability, they're at the heart of everything we do. Our relationship with Chapin Hall, the University of Chicago, that took years, and it's unique to us. They're probably the most respected, arguably, child welfare research institute in the world. They went with one company. It took a lot of begging, but they did it. Why does that matter? Why does it matter that that relationship is unique and powerful and growing? It's because they validate our results. It's because it creates this so desperately needed scoreboard. And we know for certain that our outcomes are some of the best in the country. Nobody else can say with certainty and have someone with that kind of credibility back it up that a child that enters our foster care system, ours, not the system, our care, 70.3% of the time that kid has one move or less. That's fucking unheard of. Nobody does that. You guys do. So, the other stuff, the data isn't sexy, but what happens is so powerful. What that means is the child experiences less trauma. The taxpayer gets gets a lower bill. That's a win-win. Hard to find politics these days. And when the MCOs come to town, hey, put that shit up on the scoreboard. Come on, and pay us for it, goddammit. How about that? That's the world that's coming. It's called a value-based payment system, and that's where we're moving. Sexy, no. Crucial to the progress we're undergoing? Yes. See, for hundreds of years, we didn't know what to do with these kids, so we did all kinds of silly stuff. But now, it's a relatively simple solution. You apply proven business principles and also evidence-based practices. Now, we all know that isn't easy. But if we're going to move the needle, it's going to require those dreaded words that you love so much, the most beautiful electronic record you've ever seen. Because that vehicle allows us to capture the data that we need to measure, to learn, to execute, and to repeat. You know how many times you've heard that, I know, and you know, and how important it is. Because without it, we're dead in the water. And I just want to say to you that I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, because I know it's hard rowing. It's not easy to deal with software that's still evolving and people that are still learning, and we've all had those IT moments. But it's so worth it. Now, we're all a bunch of misfits who are willing to keep climbing that data mountain over and over, because we do understand the power of that sustainability cycle. I don't know if you know what the full effect that's having. You're creating a disruption in the industry that goes far beyond innovation. And it's not about being cutting edge. We're not trying to look cool. It's about forging a new path and forcing an industry to adapt. Those who aren't keeping score, they will lose. They are losing, and they're being left behind. Our job is to bind the wounds of a broken child welfare system and replace it with accountability, transparency, and proven results. That is the future of our industry, and you are shaping it. And I congratulate you, I thank you, I commend you. Woo! I've also been sick and had so many antihistamines that I have to drink bourbon to keep my mouth wet. Right now we're out front. However, there's a lot more learning that will have to take place. And learning doesn't take place without failure. And we will fail. We screw stuff up all the time. The difference is we fail forward because we learn. Because to learn, or to fail forward, is to learn, and to learn is to grow. So what I would say is go back to your offices and remember what they say in Silicon Valley. Fail fast. Fail fast. In closing, I just want to say, yeah, 20 years. I spent a lot of time. A lot of families. I used this slide with a presentation to a group of business leaders earlier this week. Over these 20 years, yes, we've built a lot of families. And I've spent a fair amount of time with quite a few of you that are in this room. And I've been thinking about this ever since I read a book last year from David Brooks. It was called I think it's The Road to Character. And he reminded me of something, that there's really two kinds of people. There are resume builders in life, and there are eulogy writers. Resume builders live for external achievement, almost alone, which ultimately leads to mediocrity and loneliness. Nobody talks about what's on your resume at your funeral. Eulogy writers. They're kind, brave, honest, faithful, and capable, dear Robbie, of deep, endless love. That's what they talk about at your funeral. And when I look around this room, I don't see resume builders. I see eulogy writers. I see people that live with a purpose, a meaningful purpose. I think we're really, really fortunate to experience this external achievement that brings sustainable change and worth to people's lives. It gives hope and it nurtures character. I see eulogy writers. And if I've learned anything in the last 20 years, it's that eulogy writers make a lot better company in life. I have a toast. One shot of bourbon left. Christopher Walken said that none of us are getting out of here alive. Hey, what's so funny? None of us are getting out of here alive. So please stop treating yourself like an afterthought. He said, eat delicious food, walk in the sunshine, jump in the ocean, say the truth that you're carrying in your heart like a hidden treasure. Be silly, be kind, and be weird. And I'd like to add, for Ron's sake, please keep entering the data. That's all. Thank you for listening.